From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports after show live stream. I am Paul Dawalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, William Collis. For those of you who are new to the after show, welcome to the official after show of esports. For those of you who are new here, what we do is we cover all the stuff that doesn't make it into the podcast, some really cool topics in esports and gaming. We look at all of it through a business and C-suite lens like we do on the podcast. It's just all the stuff that we can't fit into an hour, right, William? I mean, we just can't. There's too much goodness, and we can't get it all in.
I suspect this. I might make a prediction. It's probably not true, but I'll make a prediction. This could be the first live stream that we actually maybe release as a standalone podcast episode, because I think there's a super important news story we did not cover on the podcast that we have to cover. Like, I think it's like a once in a 5-year news story. I'm curious if people would want us to take the audio from these live streams and release them in the same, release them on our podcast, basically. So it comes up as a podcast episode, basically. Paul, let's ask the chat. Would you like to see these released as podcastable episodes as well? So basically episode 97, episode 97.5 after show.
Because I think some people like to just listen to it and not have to look at our faces. I mean, right?
That 100%. That's the one thing that holds me back as a listener is the fact that I'm in it. That's why we need.
Cam says, "Happy Wednesday, everyone! Happy Wednesday, Cam." I guarantee people would love it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're so nice. That's so positive.
I hope it's a good idea. Actually, I think we might try it this week. We had such a good guest. I feel like it's a bit of a whirlwind because we had a guest this week who I felt was really awesome.
Yeah,
a little bit different. She's a medical doctor. They call her Gamer Doc. And we talked about all kinds of stuff related to medicine and how it intersects with esports and gaming, and health and wellness, and how that intersects with esports and gaming. And so it was a bit different from what we usually do. But I thought the conversation was really fascinating. So that's going to be on the episode tomorrow that drops, the podcast episode that drops tomorrow.
She was really good, guys. I think sometimes you hear esports medicine, and you're like, oh, what quackery is this? But I think that's precisely why it's so good, because it was very informed and she had a lot of great points to bring, or points to make. And because I think a lot of the sort of sports medicine around esports today is sort of voodoo science, or just outright false marketing. It was nice to have somebody to kind of have, and we had a lot of questions for her. I think part of why we have so many great talks for this podcast is we had about 40 minutes worth of questions for her.
Yeah. I will say what I took away from the whole thing, William, for the most part, is there's still a chance for you and I.
It's funny. That's what I took away too. I was basically, I thought a lot of her messaging was no, you're not quite too old yet, but there's only 2 more years. That was what I took away as well. I was are we going to make it this time?
I will say we did. Julian says, just finished playing Heroes and I knew I had to be here. 2-0 Tychus games.
That means something to people who play Heroes of the Storm.
All 6 of you just got that. I will say we did. I will mention what we covered this week on the podcast. So we did get through 2 topics with the Gamer Doc. We talked with her about this article from PC Gamer on Team Liquid's new elite training facility, which they've decked out with private chefs and psychologists and the whole bit. We also talked about Ninja getting signed exclusively to Twitch, which we're happy to sort of talk about on the live stream as well, if you guys want to dive into it. But you know what? Can we just at least talk about the conspiracy theory, William? Or should I let people listen to the podcast tomorrow?
Let people. We have to save some podcasts.
I know.
Content for the podcast. I'm not trying to say it because I think it's interesting. I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I just we have to have some.
Okay. How about this? Can I frame it this way?
Yeah.
For everyone watching, listening right now. Okay. If you listen to the conspiracy theory on the podcast tomorrow around Ninja, and you want to get into it with me and with William, right? Maybe he and I will do a second live stream this week. If we get enough people who like send us messages or whatever, or enough comments on the podcast or what, like tell us you want to talk about it more, and we will go toe to toe on the conspiracy theory.
Spoken like a true marketer, Paul. Teaser and call to action. Oh, I love it.
As if I was maybe teaching esports marketing,
my gosh. But to see it put in practice so naturally, the chills down my spine. It's like people can talk about snowboarding and then they can see Shaun White in action, and even if it's just a simple crest over the half pipe, he has it. Whew.
I thought you were going to break out a Jean-Pierre reference there, but it's good. We made it without
Jean-Pierre's. I need to find a Jean-Pierre and have them on the guest of the podcast, and their entire comment system is just the Jean-Pierre effect.
Now, there was a huge story we didn't get to on the podcast, which I think we have to start with.
The biggest story of the week. I think it was the biggest story of the week. It's breaking actually now. It broke in the last 3 hours, in fact, so very timely.
One of the 4 Ps of marketing, which is
pricing. No.
Pricing. And so it's pricing that dropped for both the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series S, and both PlayStation 5 consoles, the digital only one and the one with a disc drive. So all of the pricing has now dropped for next gen consoles. And so this article was from Engadget. They say Xbox Series S is an incredible value for next-gen gaming. This one from The Verge, the PS5 will launch on November 12th for $499. So we have a few articles here all talking about it, William. Can maybe just let me give our listeners a quick rundown. The 2 Xbox consoles, the Series S is going to sell for $299, and their higher-end, more powerful Series X is going to sell for $499. Okay? On the PlayStation side, their high end, which is going toe to toe with the Series X that has a disc drive and everything, is also $499, and their discless version is $399. So they don't have anything competitive at the $299 level, but arguably I think it's the same hardware as the $499 minus the disc drive. What do you make of the pricing, William? What do you make of the timing? Like the Xbox pricing dropped first, and then all of a sudden, Sony had a response of their own. Did any of these numbers surprise you?
Yes, I was very surprised actually by these numbers. Really, I was actually.
Why? In what way?
I mean, I honestly, guys, buckle up because I could talk about this for 70 years. Okay, so first of all, let me just make sure because I've seen some different pricing. I just want to recap to make sure I'm right. So it's 400 PS5 discless, 500 with disc, right?
Yep.
Then 500 Xbox discless or with disc?
I think the Series X has a disc drive.
Yeah, so it's actually price point parity at 500, right?
Does the Series X have a disc drive? Actually,
I'm actually a little unclear too, which is why the news is breaking right now. So guys, don't think we're uninformed. Like literally the details. I think the PlayStation pricing dropped 3 hours ago, maybe, but.
I want to say yes.
Yeah. I think. I think in some sense, first of all, okay, my surprise is that the pricing was so cheap.
In general?
In general, I genuinely thought there is a real possibility of $700 consoles this cycle, and I thought for sure there would be $600 pricing baseline with a room to price promote down for the holiday season, right? Like, I'm surprised we started.
I'm just going to cut you off, William. There is an optical drive on the X, but not on the S. Yes.
Yeah. So the $500 price point does not have the optical drive.
No, the 500 does. So they're parity. They're $500 are parity. The difference is the next level below. There's no feature parity, right?
Yeah.
The PS5 that's discless is the same hardware as the PS5 with the disc, whereas the Series S is fundamentally call it crippled hardware. It's not as powerful as the Series X.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that was right, because my understanding is basically the pricing's roughly the same, but PlayStation kind of wins out, and they're winning out on the lower end model essentially here. It's a little more robust.
No, because they have nothing competitive at the $299 price point. If $300 is all you have to spend, right? You have nothing competitive from PlayStation. Don't you think that's weird? Like, wouldn't you want to be competitive at the same price point so that people coming in with equal dollar, like with dollars, X dollars, have equal options?
Yes, we will talk about that. Let's get there though, because I think that's like, it kind of makes me mad, but I'll say why I say. But I think the bigger thing is, like, I genuinely thought console cycles have stretched so long now, right? Like, we're no longer in 2 to 3 year console cycles. We're in, like, how long was the last console? Like 8 years or something? It was like a long time for PS4. I think it was a 6 or 7 year cycle, right? So, like, it's a much long, which again means you can justify higher pricing. Hardware costs have come up a lot. Game prices have not risen at all with inflation. NBA 2K21 PS5 pricing experiment, Xbox One pricing experiment, the $70 pricing we've heard about, like, leave aside, right? Like, I would have thought that the financial pressures would have forced the pricing up a little bit. I really would have thought that. And I also just kind of would have thought, like, the willingness to pay would have gone up, because remember, you sell down your demand curve, and your early adopters, like, you don't need to sell, like, you have a finite number of PS5s to move in the beginning. You don't need to sell them all right away. You know what I mean? You don't need to sell them all right away, right? Like, I thought there might be an opportunity to sell down, and I think what this really is a chicken or the egg issue, where I think both publishers would have preferred a higher base price for the console. Prisoner's Dilemma. Someone had to move first. As soon as there was a stake in the ground, the other guy matches it. End of game. Unfortunately, to your point, I think the matching isn't good enough here. And the reason is, console generations are typically gated by the lowest price, like, mainline entry, right? Because if I'm developing a game, I'm not going to develop, unless it's a console exclusive, I'm going to develop it to work on both PS5 and Xbox, which is true, because that's my maximum addressable audience. And so my game, therefore, is going to be playable on the lowest feature set console, which means all the other versions are going to get a lowest features. Now, everybody always says, oh, I plussed it up for the higher end model, greater. At the end of the day, it's still the same game, right? At the end of the day, if I want to play new Metal Gear, it'll play just as well on the lower priced Xbox One. Maybe the graphics will be a little less flashy, a little bit of less post-processing as the premium Xbox. So the lowest price point matters a lot. It defines the technological adoption curve for games as a whole. And as a result of that, I think with consoles, 100% lowest price wins. The winner of the console generation is the person who... Now, lowest price does not necessarily mean lowest launch price. You can do what PlayStation has done historically, which is come out higher and quickly get lower as you accelerate down the sales curve and the volume curve and all that stuff. So it's not like, oh my God, they're underpriced on the low-end model, game over, right? They have room to get there. And in principle, I much prefer PlayStation's approach of vastly standardized hardware, right? I just think, like I said, I think it sucks. It sucks because I'm more of a PlayStation fanboy sometimes. I grew up with PlayStation, but...
William, put your professor and your consultant hat on here. Okay? If you were consulting both to the CEOs of both companies, what would the messaging have been before any of these announcements? Should it have been, like, would you have been telling one of your clients, you need to move first? Don't wait for the other guy.
Yes, I would have. Yeah.
Why?
Well, the advantage to going first, right? There is a big advantage to going first, which is if you are certain you are cheaper, right? Think about that world. Think about the world where you know for sure that you're the least expensive console. Then you have every incentive to announce first, because not only do you advertise your price, you can take pre-orders, do all that good stuff well in advance. When the other guy comes out, they're in trouble, right?
So are you saying without knowing the cost of goods, we can't reliably sit here and criticize Sony for not moving first on pricing?
Yes, that is exactly right. And I'm saying your only incentive to move first in a two-sided pricing war is when you know the other player's minimum price. That otherwise you always benefit from getting more information. So now I suspect they would have had a good idea of minimum pricing, though. That's the one thing I would have said. I suspect, and I think the reason why I didn't see one person moving first is both consoles have similar tech specs at the end of the day, so they
Microsoft
cost
did
about
move
the
first.
same. Yeah. But like move first at the wire, right? And look, I think it's very telling. Like they have to like this console's coming out, right? Like this console's coming out. They have to but also like just to try to make the point more clearly, because maybe it's not coming across the way I want it to. Like, I suspect why they moved first is because they had confidence they were at least parity or better for pricing. Do you know what I mean?
So Greg asked a good question. Let's play this out.
Yeah.
Microsoft announces $499, $299, right? Do you think the Sony camp had $499, $399 ready to go? Or do you think those numbers were different and they adjusted it sort of at the 11th hour?
That's a really good question.
I will say, I think they adjusted.
Yeah,
I think
so too.
Microsoft made really like big ball move here. This was brilliant, I think, on so many fronts. I think it's weird because you can make very bold claims, right? And sometimes people think it's just hyperbole. I actually think literally in this one day of pricing announcements, Microsoft has sort of won the console wars. And you could argue, Sony has exclusives, Sony has more history, but to your point, William, there's a few things at play here, right? The $299 price point that wasn't matched seems really odd to me, right? And because Sony didn't have a cut down version of the PS5, they probably couldn't, right? There's no way the disk drive is worth $100, let alone $200.
Yeah, it's true. Because if you were selling this, if you had time to prepare, and by the way, I had heard rumors that PlayStation's pricing was going to clock in at 6 or 7, right? So think about it as your Microsoft, right? It goes back to my point. You probably have way better intelligence than we do about what the pricing is, right? You're getting pretty confident you can work at 500 and 300. You're getting pretty confident you're tied on one worst case. You're probably winning on one worst case because you think that they're at 600 and you're way ahead on the other. You pull the switch. And look, the one thing I'll say about consoles is remember, they sell for a long time. Calling a console war on price announce is not how you would it's not.
But there's so much at play here, William, right?
I know.
So the $299 price point, which isn't met, the fundamental understanding here of Microsoft of their target market, I think, is brilliant, right? Mm-hmm. They know consoles go after the price conscious consumer because if you have $1,500 to spend, you go buy a gaming PC, right? That's just the reality these days. And these days, it doesn't gaming PCs are more and more mainstream, right?
They are.
COD League next year is going to be played on PC, actually, not on console. I don't know if you saw that, but the high end is being met by PCs. They know there's a threat from PCs. By the way, NVIDIA at midnight launches graphics cards that blow away both of these next gen consoles.
I know, it's crazy.
So,
it's
if you want high end, you go buy a PC. Yeah. The beauty of Microsoft's strategy here is they've said, look, we're going to cater to the price conscious crowd. That $299 price point, we know Sony can't even get there. Yeah. And what they've done on top of it that Sony can't copy is, I don't know if you saw the lease offerings they have. Well, lease offerings, the financing offerings where you can pay for the $299 console. You essentially pay, I think it's like $25 a month for 2 years. And it includes Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So you get games, you get your console, it's $25 a month. And you don't have to put a big amount of cash out up front.
And by the way, that financing piece is the most brilliant piece of all of this and is going to revolutionize how consoles are bought. And I guarantee you are going to see that is matched in days. But I'm calling it right now.
But they have the Game Pass to match it with. What's Sony going to do?
And Sony they'll throw in stuff. They have PS Plus. They can bundle stuff in. Will it be as compelling as an offering? I don't know. But the principal thing is, and I literally do I say this in the Book of Esports? Or I always said, but I say it in something that I had is look at other industries for alternate pricing models to hit lowest rock bottom price. And leasing or the deferred installment model, like that was a long time coming to the console industry.
But you own it, right? You still own the console. It's not like you're renting it. But,
well, you sort of do. If you don't make the payments, something happens to it. Yeah.
But meaning, like, just for me, it's pure genius bundling it with the services. And I don't know if PlayStation's going to be able to have a response there. Like it's a stroke of genius from a marketing standpoint because they got the price right, they got the packaging right, they got the product right. And it's all of them sort of put together here.
And I guarantee you, the other piece of it is I guarantee you the fine print on that leasing option is after 2 years, Xbox, Game Pass subscription renews without, I guarantee you.
I'm sure
it is. Well, no, I'm making a point. Like this is the definition of baking. They are convinced it's the best in class product. They're baking in the sale, and they know once you've had it for 2 years, you're habituated. You're never letting it go. Right. And so look at their revenue streams now versus Sony. They have all the game sales because let's be honest, you still buy all the new games off of the Game Pass, plus the recurring Game Pass subscription, which in itself is the biggest loyalty driver. Right. It is. If you look at the loyalty retention those Game Pass services drive, it's insane because, again, you can choose whichever title. Right. Is, if you have, but you can choose whichever console your title is coming out on. Right. Like it'll be on both, most of the major ones. Right. But there is a massive convenience factor of my collection is on X. Yeah. There is a massive convenience factor of, well, it's even like I feel this. I own PlayStation and Xbox, Steam, Epic Store, whatever. I still try to buy everything, for example, on the Steam store because most of my collection is on Steam. And it's not that I don't like the Epic Store. I love it. It's great now. I'm quite used to it. I'm a fan. The pricing's lower. It's just easier for me to launch, and I'm lazy. So, yeah.
Cam says, could PlayStation come back with a greater value Pro console? It's an interesting idea, right? So we can't fight at the low end. Do we introduce a product higher up that Xbox is not competing with?
No,
at the $700 price point.
I love it, Cam. You can't for the reason I described, which is the development cycle, right? Like every developer for the next 10 years is developing for the $300 console minimum buy-in, right?
Yeah,
that's what's happening. So,
and the reality is, I don't think console gamers truly care if they're getting 118 FPS or 137 FPS at 4K. Like, it's about what's my lowest cost of entry to play the games that I want to play.
100%. That's my approach to buying a console. I'm just like, I want to have these experiences. Some of them are exclusive. I'd like to have them on TV. What's the lowest price of entry to get this?
Like, I've never like gone over to someone's house and then like showing off their PlayStation. Like, look at the ray tracing here. Like, no, that's like the PC's domain, right?
I know. Nobody's ever like, oh, the 4K on this is insane. You know what I mean?
Greg says, hey guys. Hey, Greg. Sam says, Unreal. It is Unreal. I think Microsoft's move here, like I think maybe the war is not over, but they cut off PlayStation's head before the battle started. And so, Cam says, great points, guys. If console players cared about performance, they wouldn't be. Yeah, well, they're price conscious consumers by definition, right? This is why they're buying consoles. If price wasn't an option, there are things that deliver better experiences. What's interesting too is if you get the bundle, right? Because you get the xCloud streaming too, William.
Yeah.
So you get streaming to your mobile device, all your Xbox games too. Which, like, the kind of lock in there, the kind of like brand affinity Xbox is going to build with an offering like that, I think pretty genius.
It's crazy, dude. It's like, I'm like speechless at how well, because I had always thought the Game Pass too, like, I had never viewed the Game Pass as a tool to sell consoles. I had always used it as a tool to retain and monetize an existing user base. And now that it is being used as a true hook in, like, literally, you $25 all in, I can take home a premium, like, new console.
That's it.
And I can get great games for it. Great. I mean,
it'll play all the games that everyone else is going to play with the $500 console.
That's hard to justify. I can barely go to Chipotle and add guacamole to my burrito for $25. Like
and
literally,
even as the PC gamer, right? Like, I would buy a $2,000 graphics card without even blinking, right? But I would probably not buy the $500 console because it's sitting in no man's land, right? It's a weird product strategy.
So then here's my question though, based on the argument we've made here, right?
Yeah.
Why did Microsoft feel the need to do a $500 console at all? I mean, I know the answer, but just like to point out the logic, if we're all saying the lowest price console wins, the mid-price console is caught in this weird zone, why do you even do a $500 console?
I think there's a couple of reasons, right? You need a Halo product in some ways, right? So you
Good
still
answer.
need and you need to go toe to toe with Sony. You can't leave Sony sort of uncontested in a price bracket. So, do I think they're going to sell more $299 consoles than $499? No question.
Of course, yeah.
Right, and I think it's going to be
they're going to sell about. Different. They're going to sell about as 5x as many. I'm going to call the number right now. It's going to be about 5.
And I'm telling you, the cost of goods is probably not that different.
It's not that
right.
Different.
We're talking like a different chip, maybe a slightly different cooling solution. The enclosure is a bit more expensive. Like it's a bit more plastic and a
little more
chips.
Weight on the box. So when you take it home, you feel the Apple strategy. Oh, this is heavy. It must be great.
So the margins on the $499 box are better, but we both know the consoles make money on the games and on the services, not on the hardware.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's other reasons to the price differentiation piece. Like I'll point out to you, like those low consoles will sell out. I'm telling you right now, and there are going to be plenty of people who buy the $500 console because the $300 one isn't in stock this Christmas, right? Like, there's that. There's the marketing led reasons, right? Like, you need to have amazing screenshots for your games. It does help showing them running on slightly amped up hardware that you can justify the extra promo shots, right? But all of this sort of says to me, I do feel like the $500 price point is a miss. I do. I would rather see like a Titan $800 price point that can really do some some feature set that is relatively easy for a dev to add and that you just can't do on lower end functions. Or the other thing is, by the way, it's something interesting, Matt. I'm so tired of consoles trying to differentiate on graphics power. Like I'm so tired of that. Like I thought Nintendo was signaling the way here, which is you can do feature differentiation, touchscreen,
new input methods.
I get that, Kinect wasn't like so amazing, but like I thought for sure, like the thing I'm waiting for is the multi-tap to come back. Like 4 local controller ports on the $600 item, 2 in the default, and then it takes 1 Tekken Tag tournament style fighting game for like cheap things like that you can do that give consumers a fundamental reason to, I think, are undervalued in the industry right now. I really do.
Sammer says, do you think Microsoft will release games that will not run on the Series S, like a Series X exclusive game? William, I'm curious what you think, but I definitely think that's not going to happen. It would be to their very serious detriment, I think. Yeah. They will probably say like, this game won't run it. If they do it, which I don't even think, they might say, like, this game will not, we can't guarantee it will run 4K 60 FPS.
Yeah. At that point, if they do that, Sammer, like at that point, you might as well have launched 2 generations of console at the same time. Like the whole thing that defines a console generation is all the games play on it, Yeah. So the only exception is late in life cycle. I could certainly see 3, 4, 5 years out as it gets late in life cycle, and there are just some things that the slightly higher price, the base one.
Yeah, but they'll jazz it up a bit, right? They always do refreshes, like small refreshes. It'll get a bit smaller. Christopher says, at least we didn't have to hear about teraflops this generation. No, that's the PC guys who are still on the teraflops.
I do love teraflops though; they're amazing. They're amazing.
Cam says, will PlayStation overhaul the PS Now service to better compete with Game Pass? I think they have to. I don't think they have a choice, William.
I don't think
it's competitive today.
I don't think they think that way at Sony. Like I go back to
selling services requires a different mindset.
It does, it does. And I'm telling you, and this is like kind of a knock on Sony. It's kind of a praise because they're consistent, but The truest thing I've ever heard somebody say to me, and it's explained every action I've ever heard Sony make, is they never recovered from Betamax. Like legit, like I'm serious.
Seriously?
Like it literally like explains.
It was so traumatic.
Like
people
it
are
explains,
probably all gone or retired.
It doesn't matter. It explains the entire institutional culture that is being created at Sony, which is we will get the best hardware and we will go all the way on the hardware, and doesn't matter if it's a Pyrrhic victory like Blu-ray and we win to lose. You know what I mean? Like we are hardware. We believe we have the best hardware and we will win by backing the hardware. And I think that's what you're seeing, which is another reason why I'm surprised you don't see the higher price point from Sony. I mean, they clearly had to rush it to come down, per Greg's point. But
William, your point's a great one. So then my conclusion is, I think this is their next Betamax. I think PS5 is the second coming of Betamax. Because Microsoft has figured out the open strategy, right? Xbox, PC, cloud, mobile, services, everything tied together. I don't think 1% better hardware is going to win the day here. Right? They're falling into the same trap.
The thing we're missing here is, and this is what I mean about like calling console wars early. I think you can definitely say the first battle, and it was a very important battle, has gone to Microsoft. You can definitely say that. But so I mean, like, there are so many factors that go into console wars, and this is a silly example, but it illustrates my point. Let's say you had a choice between buying the Xbox, low price entry at $300, $25 for a lease, or Sony $500. Let's say those are the only two things in market. Microsoft's winning, right? Now, and there's Game Pass. Microsoft's still winning, right? Now, let me totally flip this with one simple observation. Sony announces a suite of premium first-party exclusives. I'm just going to say names for the sake of argument. They announced Zelda, Mario, Metal Gear, Final Fantasy, and Crash Bandicoot, because I do like Crash Bandicoot, are all PlayStation exclusive, right? All of a sudden, the calculus is different, because at the end of the day, these are vehicles to play games, and people are interested in the lowest cost product that lets them play the games they want. And so there is a story, which is, and I don't think this is what happened, but there is a world where Sony's first party title lineup is so strong, the pricing difference doesn't matter as much, right? It doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the world we're in, but that's what I mean. You can't call console makers out until well into year two, because the other thing is so much pricing adjusts over time. And if you look at the PlayStation historic sales curve, right? Like, they've been behind in some generations. And the thing you always give Sony credit for is they crank them out. They get the cost of production low, the pricing dips, and the console war is really won the second holiday season. That is when you have mass market adoption, you have enough titles to drive incentives. So we are still a year out from the true winner. But like I said, it wasn't a great first round for my PS boys, Yeah.
Let's switch gears a bit here, William, and then you'll like that pun. This is Rocket League news, believe it or not. And I was surprised to see this. Maybe you weren't, because you're in that scene. This is direct from epicgames.com. Rocket League is free to play on Epic Games Store starting September 23rd. The entire game is going free to play. And so let me guess, William.
Mm-hmm.
But Book of Esports says this is
the greatest decision ever. Every single esport would be free to play. Thank you so much. Legitimately, how did it take this long? But this is going to be incredible for Rocket League, particularly because Rocket League is already so accessible. It's already so accessible to pick up and play, right? Eliminating the $29.99 price tag, it's going to blow up. I am telling you right now, it's a second wind in Rocket League sales.
Does this pick up the slack for Fortnite's sort of very steep downward decline at the moment, being banned from the App Store and Now they're saying it might be banned for next year, even.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, where does this get positioned in the pantheon of esports now that it's gone free to play?
Well, Rocket League was always occupied a very unique position in esports, which it was the most successful nonviolent esport. There's really not another esport you can argue that is as family friendly, that is as successful, right? So even before I, was interested in operating a team in that game, I was very long on Rocket League because of that market positioning, because of accessibility, right? Now that it's free, it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. This is a very, very good time to be a team owner in that game. I believe it's a very, very good time to be Psyonix, and have that game in market. You're going to have a huge headwind. And I think this puts more pressure on any other developer who's trying to do an esport and have a fixed price game. Like, come on. Rocket League is successful by every standard. And even they dropped the pricing.
But call it, William. A year from now, are we talking Rocket League in the same breath as League? As League of Legends? Or like, are we talking tier 1 esport and the player base has doubled? What is the...
There, it's tough. Like, I have to be sort of tactical, I would say, but yes, I fully believe Rocket League has tier 1 esports potential. And if it continues to be managed with great decisions like a free to play window, you will this game has a lot more gas in the tank, right? And by the way, I have to go back to this. It's also one of the most watchable esports. Like, the accessibility factor is so high for that. That is what holds back so many games. And I can sit anybody I ever know down to watch a Rocket League game, and they say, "What's going on?" And I say, "It's soccer with cars. Good luck." And they're into it, right? The only thing that is that's I think a little negative in this announcement is I wish the free window was permanent, right? I believe it's only a timed month-long exclusive period, right? I think it's only September through October.
Yes.
But I also understand why that is, and even that itself is smart, because you need to give people an incentive to play it right now, right? And if you're like, it's free for forever, people are like, but if you're like, it's free for a month, people are like, oh, right? So I think this is genius. Super excited, super pumped for Rocket League. Strong believer in the game before, bigger believer in the game now.
If I'm Epic and I'm sitting on the cash hoard that I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Fortnite's wavering here, why not then implement, call it a Book of Esports inspired strategy, where I go and buy every $15 to $30 game that has pretty good player traction and make it free to play, right? Like, go buy Fall Guys, that's $20 today, make it free to play. Go buy Among Us, which is $20, where I make it free. Go buy, right? Like, just go buy a bunch of middle tier games that have had some initial success and take them all free to play, because I
wish I had a reason to tell you that was a bad strategy, but it's a great strategy. It's a perfect strategy. It's like, that's exactly what you should be doing, because for these games, price is a handbrake. It's the same thing we talked about with consoles. The price is a handbrake. As long as you're confident the monetization system truly supports free to play, right? And in some of the games you mentioned, like I think Among Us, I'm not so convinced it does as well as, say, Fall Guys. But it could. I'm not as familiar with it. You know what I mean? As long as you're convinced, it is a great strategy. It's a great strategy. And by the way, this is a strategy you see for 200 years. For 200 years, you've seen small scale manufacturers with great products be bought by larger scale businesses that can bring economies to their products. So the price of the product drops post acquisition. This is literally the history of manufacturing in, globalized economies. It's not like we're saying, oh, this is really controversial. This is a very obvious thing to do. It just feels weird talking about it in the context of video games, but it's worked everywhere else. It will work here.
We're not going to do this next topic, William, because we have too many.
Okay.
This is going to be the segment of this week's live stream where I just pat myself on the back. Okay. And this was from GameSpot.com. Take-Two CEO doesn't think cloud gaming is the future. Strauss Zelnick, if you're listening, by the way, who's the CEO of Take-Two Interactive and the interim chairman at CBS, if you're listening, you and I agree 100%. Great minds think alike. Cloud gaming is not the future. Anyways, did you appreciate that pat myself on the back interlude, William?
Not only do I appreciate it, I really want to argue with you about it, but
no, we can. You want to argue? Well, let's go.
No, I actually think you're right. Like, the problem is I want to argue with you, but I
love just let me just say there's some great comments in the article where Strauss says we've sold 135 million units of Grand Theft Auto 5, 32 million units of Red Dead Redemption. I wish I could tell you that there will come a point where various cloud gaming servers will mean those numbers are doubled or tripled, but I don't really see it. He's just flexing. It's like, yeah, we've sold 135 million copies of Grand Theft Auto. Like,
it's literally like, I know a thing or two about selling games. Like, sold a few games. Let's put it this way. If this were a lemonade stand, it would be a successful lemonade stand. This would be one of those lemonade stands that pays for the trip to the toy store and college. And like, the guy's a legend.
Yeah, let's talk about something where I think we do disagree on. Mm-hmm. This was from Twitch directly.
Yep.
They posted something called A Look into the Future of Esports on Twitch, where they announced this new product called Versus. Mm-hmm. And basically it allows streamers who have like relatively large communities mm-hmm. to create their own tournaments, to organize their own competitions, so they're empowering sort of communities to create rivalries and tournaments amongst themselves. William, I know you had thoughts on this in terms of repercussions of this, or what it meant then for tournament organizers who are already operating in the industry.
I know I said I wanted to talk about that, but I actually think I have a more important or a better take on this story.
Yeah, no, let's hear it.
But just the point I was going to make is like, now there's more competition in the tournament space. You better be differentiated because these guys will be integrated into streaming. Like that was the comment I was going to make before.
Yeah. Although, this is just a simple tool for one community to sort of organize tournaments. You would argue even a basic tournament organizer who's done relatively large scale tournaments can bring more to the table, right?
That's why I said I had a better point.
Okay,
that's why
sorry.
I said I had
Go
a better
ahead.
point. Okay, so here's my better point for this one. How to describe this? It's like, remember how I've been saying I don't understand Twitch? I wish I could figure out their behavior because I thought they were a broadcaster, but then when their content was poached, they did just fine, right?
Yeah.
The guy's article, and I was like, imagine if you read the headline, ABC News or ABC, what's a mainline terrestrial network? ABC, right?
Yeah.
ABC launches make your own American rival tools for American Idol fans, right?
Got it.
You'd be like, what? Like what? Like what? Like what? Like this makes no sense. Like this has nothing to do with what happens. I'm fine voting, but I don't want to compete with it makes no sense, right? Like this is not broadcaster behavior, right?
Okay.
This is social network behavior. This is a social
Interesting
network behavior. And what this really is, and a lot of people said this to me privately since I had that conversation on the podcast. They've said, it's a social network. It's a social network. You're not thinking about it the right way. It's a social network. It's a social network that's weird because not in most normal social networks, everybody creates content, right? Or that's the perception. The reality is a lot of people lurk and consume other people's contents, right?
And the nature of the relationships in most social networks is not one to many in the way it is with Twitch, right?
Although I would argue Twitter it is, TikTok.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Like it's people said like because it looks so much like a broadcaster, because it's making video, you want to treat it as a broadcaster. It is a social network. As soon as you understand it's a social network, the behavior makes sense. And when I heard that, I was like, aha, I get it. Because imagine if there was a rival service to Twitter and they poached the 3 biggest Twitter accounts.
No one's going to care.
Twitter. It's a social network. And this convinces me of it because this is a strategic impetus that speaks to Twitch thinking of themselves as a social network.
Okay, but then how do we like?
That was a good point. That was a great point.
Great point. But then how do we fit that with what you said on the podcast, which was now it seems Twitch cares about signing talent again, right? They went and signed Ninja and they signed Shroud.
Yeah.
If they have this epiphany, we're a social network, they shouldn't care. They wouldn't have paid $1 for either of those guys.
I know. And that's where.
So are they conflicted internally? Like, is there internal conflict? Is there soul searching going on at Twitch where they don't really know what they are yet?
No. I think it's, how to describe this? I think it's that year-end bonus effect, right? Sometimes, even if you have a lot of confidence in your strategy and you're convinced it's right, if hedging against your strategy is relatively cheap to do, and as we talked about in the podcast, I don't think Twitch and Shroud were signed for anywhere near what they went to Mixer for, right?
Yeah,
if the hedge is cheap enough, Ninja and Shroud, right? If the hedge is cheap enough, you take the hedge. And it doesn't matter if you have all the conviction in the world that you're right and you are right. It's insurance, and you take it sometimes. And I suspect somebody at Twitch said, okay, it's not that much money. There's value to having these guys associated with the platform that maybe is non-quantifiable. I want to get my bonus this year for sure. Ink it, and that's what I think happened there. I really do. And I'm not saying that to criticize them. That's not like those executives, it's like, it's smart. You're hedging your risk. If the price is right, you hedge, right? You buy the option if the call is good.
William, can we do something a bit more light now? Because we did some heavy articles here.
Sure.
There seems to have been a large amount of gaming furniture news this week. And I want to do this sort of rapid fire style. And I'd love to involve the people watching, right? Like thumbs up, you would buy it. Thumbs down, you would not. Okay. and William, you and I can sort of discuss the positioning and the marketing and the strategy here. But the first one, let's start with the first one. This is from TheVerge.com. Nothing says ready to game quite like being cocooned in a giant scorpion cockpit. I mean, no one is coming into your cubicle, that's for sure. and I don't know if I can play this. I don't know if this will work.
I hope it
you
works.
Can see it. Yeah. You can see it in motion here.
Completely unnecessary, by the way, that it curves like that. Like, completely unnecessary. Like,
okay. You love this product. You think the gaming world needs more of this. How do you feel about the whole product positioning here?
As soon as there is a Star Wars branded destroyer droid version of this, I'm buying two.
That's actually a good. They're listing the chair at $3,300, but supposedly you can get it on Alibaba for $1,900, which seems cheap. No,
suspiciously cheap for this level of mechanism.
Yeah. That seems oddly inexpensive. We may need to get one for the Business of Esports office. What do you think?
I think we need to get two. I mean, look, I bought DDR machines for more, so I mean.
Cam says yes. So Cam agrees. We got to get one for the Business of Esports office.
For our first live stream, we can both go into the school.
I think Cam says it comes with monitors or just chair. I think it's the $1,900 is just the chair.
Yeah.
Gabe says the Scorpion looks so beyond uncomfortable to game in, and I'm sure it's super expensive. It's only $2,000 on Alibaba, supposedly. Sure would make esports arenas more interesting. VIP bottle service in Vegas. That's actually so smart.
It's actually really tight.
It's actually that would be good. It's the whole, you look a little ridiculous. You have to admit, you look a little bit silly in this thing.
I mean, I have.
I know what they were trying to go for, but I don't think I would look cool.
I have
in this
so
thing.
many concerns about the design, like those feet on a hardwood floor. Like, I mean, I just, I have.
Let's move on to the next one. Next one, rapid fire here. Aston Martin's. This is from Roadshow by CNET. Mm-hmm. Aston Martin's new racing simulator may be the coolest esports rig we've seen. The AMR C01 comes from Aston Martin and partner Curve Racing Simulators.
No.
So it's a racing rig. It's a sim rig. This one is $74,000. That Scorpion's looking pretty cheap in comparison, you have to admit.
I mean, the problem with this is at this point you can basically buy a car. You know what I mean? Like
you probably could buy a used Aston Martin for 74 grand.
Like at this point, it's a little bit like if the goal is fidelity and you're in that price range, like I've got great news for you. Like
at $1,900, I'd buy the Scorpion. This one, I don't get at all. First of all, no motion, zero. Notice.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen sim rigs. You can spend a lot of money on sim rigs, but at like the 25 grand level, you're full 4D motion. You've got VR. Like this has just a big screen. Why not VR? Way more immersive. And the seat looks like the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen.
What is the feature money going into? Quite seriously, like what is the feature money going into?
But you save on speeding tickets. Yes, you do.
Wait, seriously, what is the feature set in this thing? Do they say? Is it just a chair and a curved screen for $74,000?
It's made by Aston Martin, right? So it's like it's all carbon fiber. It's it's built like a race car chassis, basically. Like that much carbon fiber for a cockpit like that. I would say there's probably 20 grand of cost just right there.
Yeah, I just think it comes down to one of the things. Why do you need carbon fiber in your sim rig? Like
who's the target customer? Greg, I don't think there's any target customer for this. Like realistically, it's people with more money than brains is the target customer.
Well,
your average oil prince, you know.
There is an argument of the if can I sell 20 effect, like for the time and effort that went into this and the free PR you get, can you do 1.5 million on this product line? And it probably was worth somebody's time. That's 20 units, right? It's 20 units.
Yeah.
Like 20 people in the world will buy this.
Well, they're making 150 of them.
Well, there you go. Then they think it's 150 of them, and it's a crazy deal. So, I just think it's. I don't know. I don't like this at all.
I don't like it at all either. Only because it's not as good as rigs that are a third the price.
It's feature incomplete. Like I think they're going to be disappointed by this, but whatever.
Agreed. Comes with wheels and pedals. It does look like it. Yeah, Cam, that it's all included. Let's move on. This one I think you really liked, William. This is from scmp.com, and the headline is IKEA and Asus ROG team up to launch gaming furniture and accessories in China. IKEA is developing 30 gaming related products in Shanghai that will go on sale in February 2021, starting in China. And supposedly they worked with professional gamers on these items. I don't think they have any of them in this article. I don't think I saw any listed anywhere.
And I don't need to see them. I don't care. I don't need to see them. These are going to be a great idea. These
you think so?
These could be messes. These could be disasters, and they'll sell well because IKEA's demographic is first-time furniture shoppers, right? That is literally their demographic. The story of IKEA was basically that people in where it's Swedish, right? Swedish.
Yeah, but the big innovation with IKEA was flat packing, right?
Yes, but why does flat packing matter? It's because first-time furniture shoppers need to buy a lot of furniture to build. They're not like replacing one thing; they need like a whole apartment, right? And you don't have a lot of money. And what used to happen, the story I've told, I'm sure, but the story I've heard is in Sweden, what used to happen is you would just have to beg your grandparents for furniture, and nobody liked having their apartments furnished with this secondhand furniture, but regular hardwood manufactured furniture was way too expensive. And so IKEA set out to find a way to do low cost, first generation durable furniture. And flat packing was a major innovation that resulted from that. So was home assembly or self-assembly, right? So was large format pan product line stores, so you could capture all the purchases at once. Because if you get, like I said, if you get a first-time furniture shopper, they're buying 10 things, not one. So a huge store is really beneficial because you get 10 sales from the same marketing, right? So, but it doesn't matter. First-time furniture shoppers are also prime gamer demographic, right? 19 to 26. This is going to kill it. It's going to kill it. I'm
you
telling
think
you
we're
right
going to see big numbers
it's
from
gonna
this?
Be huge. It's going to be huge. You are going to see not just huge numbers, like part of that standard IKEA walkthrough that you do, which is like the meatballs, the bedroom, the dining room. And they're all of their mocked up demo sets. There'll be a gaming space. I'm telling you right now. This is just so on demo.
William,
Yeah.
if there's RGB on the desk, are you going to buy it?
Yes, I buy anything with RGB, Paul. Like literally, like it's just look, it's RGBing right now. RGBing right now.
Interested in this chair? I'm in the market for a new gaming chair. Well,
There
funny
you go.
you should say that, because this is the next one here. Herman Miller dropped a special edition of its Aeron chairs. So
Cool.
they did the partnership with Logitech. This is from the Rob Report. They did the partnership with Logitech for their M-body chair. Now this is the Aeron chair, which is maybe Herman Miller's most iconic chair, at a lower price point. I think this one's only like 1,000 or 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, actually this one's 1,400. So about the same price as the M-body. All they changed though is they just made it all black, and they're calling this the gamer version. Kind of lazy, don't you think?
It's lazy, but I don't hate it because it's Herman Miller and it's a great chair.
It's a great chair, but for $1,400, you're better off with the M-body.
Couldn't they have added RGB just somewhere?
I don't know. I mean, water cooling, something.
I know they're amazing chairs because they're great chairs. But there was something you could have done.
Cam says any standing desks on the list. Yeah, the IKEA stuff I think has. They said they were going to do a standing desk because IKEA does standing desks already.
I'm standing right now.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm a standing desk. Can you not tell?
No,
That's
I can't.
Why I'm moving around so much. I try to stand for the podcast now, so I'm more animated.
That's pretty smart. Mm-hmm. So that's all the sort of the furniture news.
We need to start, the New York Times has the wire cutter. We need to start the wire cutter for all this esports stuff.
Look, we might as well then talk about this, right? Mm-hmm. Esports Observer, this Logitech Shroud partnership. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Logitech and Shroud are teaming for a branded product line. So Shroud, the big time streamer, ex CS:GO pro, he has a keyboard that's going to have like a Logitech keyboard that's going to have his name on it, a mouse pad that has his name on it, a special G Pro wireless that has blue buttons and his name on it, and then a special version of their headset that has his name on it. So all existing peripherals that they've just rebranded with his name. None of this is new. None of them have been tweaked. None of them have been modified in any way. Mm. I was so massively disappointed when I saw this, William. Like, to me, this was Razer's opportunity, Logitech's opportunity to be way more competitive on the esports accessories, gaming accessories front, because they've fallen behind a little bit.
It also misunderstands. Like, I don't think gamers want something that says their favorite. I don't think they want that level of affinity in their hardware. They want performance. Like, the reason I'm going to buy a Shroud mouse is not because it says Shroud, it's because Shroud says it's the best mouse, right?
Yes.
Like that's why. So it kind of, to me, misunderstands the purchase behavior here, because what it should be is we teamed up with Shroud to redesign the Logitech mouse to let you dominate, like, the aim master himself, right? So there you go.
But that's not the messaging that they've been coming out with. Like, what they came out with is, I'm Shroud, I've been using this mouse my whole life, and so it's great. I think it's a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, particularly because,
why would you pay for just that?
I mean, people will, because Shroud has a following, but it could have been much bigger, And I get, I admire Shroud for, I bet he has been using this mouse his whole life, and I bet he really does like it. It doesn't mean he can't change something for the sake of changing it, apart from anything else, right? You're telling me you couldn't use a different traction on the rubber mouse wheel, like a different grade of rubber,
something.
Tell
a little bit
story,
a higher bump in the back to support your palm, or I don't know. That G Pro wireless is too flat for my hand. So
I don't know, Paul. I mean, you're such a good first person shooter player. You tell me, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I think the shape of the G Pro wireless is far inferior to mice that are a third the price.
Yeah,
but that's my. What I'm curious, William, is in this context, what do you think they paid Shroud for an activation like this? What do you think this deal looks like?
I don't want to speculate, but it's 7 figures, I think, right?
You think it's tied to sales or nothing, or not? It's literally just licensing his brand.
I don't think it matters. You know what I mean? I don't think he would have cared that much about it. I think Logitech would have probably tried to put a sales share in it, right? and it's pretty easy to track for a product like this because it's literally everyone is sold because of his name. So you just give him a percentage of top line. And Shroud probably has enough money that he's willing to take the upside. So I suspect it was worked into the contract, but I don't think either party needed it, you know?
But you think it's single figure millions?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think anyone's paying 10 million to endorse a mouse like this. Because think how many more units you have to sell to justify that, right?
Like, I mean, the margins on these projects to begin with are massive, right?
But also imagine you're already selling a whole bunch of mice, right? Yeah. If it's $10 million, you have to believe that Shroud's name, and let's say it's a $10 premium on it, you have to believe that Shroud's name can move 1 million mice. Maybe, but I doubt I would do that as thresholding, right? Not when there's also cannibalization on your existing product line, because for a bunch of people, every additional Shroud mouse I sell is not a mouse I'm moving, to maybe an otherwise Logitech ready customer, right?
I liked this next article because I saw it as gaming intersecting real life. And there's some examples of that, but I don't think we cover enough of them. And this one was Lucid. Actually, before I get to this, Christopher has a question on the mice. How many mice did Ninja move when he had this? Ninja's deal was with Final Mouse.
Yeah.
And they sold out of the Air 58 Ninja, and I think they sold a total of about 60,000 units. But this is Final Mouse, much more niche company. Much more niche product, higher priced product. Like it's a wired mouse that was $150 or $129 or whatever it was. And so in total, they moved, I think, 60,000 mice in basically the first hour. They sold out. The Final Mouse's business model is they do limited quantity drops every year or every 6 months or whatever. It's the Supreme model.
Oh, I should. You're reminding me of something. I need an example of that, and I can't believe I didn't think of Supreme. I have to add that to my thing. I needed an example of limited quantity drops driving a business, and you nailed it.
Supreme, I would argue, made it as popular as it is today.
Yeah, I was using Magic the Gathering, which is a very bad example of that. Supreme
Yeezys are another example, right?
Oh, yeah.
This article was from TechCrunch, and it was Lucid. And for those who don't know, Lucid, electric car company, competitor to Tesla, has done a lot of big talking that they're better than Tesla in just about every way. Lucid lets shoppers customize cars like a video game character. So basically what they've created is what I would call the car equivalent of your character creation screen. And part of me really loved this, William. Like, what is the reason?
Part of me really hates this, by the way. But
like, you have to admit, character creation screens capture like a ton of people's time in the gaming world. Like, people will spend hours customizing every little bit. So there's some very innate attraction there. There's something very primal there, I think. Why do you hate this? Like, why do you think a car company borrowing gaming habits here?
Well, it's not that I hate it, because I think more things should have this level of customization, and the character creator is a great model. I hate it, though, for two reasons. And I could be wrong about these, but these are the two reasons I hate it. One is, like, this is a significant barrier to purchase, right? Like, cars are expensive. Like, the whole reason why the character creator works is you've already got the game at that point, right? Like, I paid for Morrowind, right? This just gives me an excuse to hang out in the car. And what's worse is, because cars are such a big ticket item, I agonize about my character. I won't start the game until I know it's perfect, and I'll think about it again, and I'll go back, and it introduces that decision paralysis right into close to the buying step, which is a very bad idea.
I get it.
The other reason I don't like this is cost, because there's a reason why character creators work. It's because it's free. It's free. They actually have to produce this on the back end.
Yep.
And more complexity, more production drives up the final price of and for cars, we sort of got to a happy medium. We sort of got to a point where like you pick your color, you pick if it's a hybrid or not, you pick the seats, which we can swap out. But like they've streamlined the customization over time. And even there now, more and more, the customization is just bundled into 3 set models and pretty much doing anything off of the 3 or 4 factory floor variants is you can't get it across, right? So that's why I don't like this, because I think it's a good idea on paper. I suspect this is a case where a great idea doesn't equally work in all things, and I think this is something where it doesn't work, right? So,
it's
but
such
I love
a good
it.
point. I hadn't even thought about that. Right, the kind of paralysis you get from a character creation screen. If you see your car here, this is a really bad. It's a really bad spot.
You are
to be in.
going to have a lot of people who would have otherwise purchased not purchasing, and not even because they don't have purchase intent, but because they're not sure they're buying the right car.
Well, like, I mean, Costco has proven that less choice is often better, right? Yep. That's kind of the Costco innovation, if you want, or what's the other one there? The grocery store that carries so many fewer SKUs. Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. Yeah.
Right.
Trader Joe's is amazing, by the way.
But it's funny how, they thought maybe they were clever taking a page out of gaming, hoping to attract a gamer audience, when in fact they may sell a lot fewer cars as a consequence.
I suspect, and I'm calling this right now, it's such a great, and by the way, I want more people to do this. This is customization is important. It's really great. It should be available. I am telling you right now, this doesn't work.
Well, they tried making it into a game, right? And that's not always that's not a guarantee that it's going to achieve the goals you want to achieve. Just because people say gamification's good, right?
What it should have done is pre-order to unlock the car customizer, and you have until your pre-order is ready to play with it. That's what they should have done here. That's the correct thing, because at that point you're not breaking because then you're getting all the benefits of the character creator, getting retention, loyalty, the psychology endowment effect, right? That's when they should have put it in a purchase decision. It should have been the carrot to pre-order, to do the $1,000 down, right? For the, Wow, that was really smart, Paul. I have to give myself massive credit. I'm like, smart. Oh, that was a good point.
I can't even argue with that one. I wanted to try and go back, but that one's tough. That one's tough to go back at. Kemp says 100 Thieves loves to do it, talking about the drops, the limited drops. Yes, 100 Thieves is known for that. Does Tesla create a mod shop that allows wraps every 6 to 12 months, or do owners just sell and move on? Actually, that's kind of genius too, right? Like if you could literally almost Grand Theft Auto style, right? Yeah. Pull into a mod shop, get a new wrap every 6 months, makes you feel like you have a new car every 6 months. Kind of genius. Tying it into Grand Theft Auto would be clever too.
That's actually, they could call Strauss Zelnick and be like, the take.
We can help you sell one more copy
with integrated cloud gaming.
Let's end, William, on one last story here.
Is it about how I crushed that car point? Because I'm still speechless.
Are you on a high? Are you on a high because of that?
I am riding that. That's gonna carry me for 2.5 days. It's like
okay. I want this one's an oldie, but it's a goodie. Let's talk about our buddies over at GameStop, because they're in the news again this week. The headline here: GameStop to close up to 450 stores this year. According to the CFO, the year's total includes a net closure of 206 stores in the second quarter, which left GameStop with a footprint 10% smaller compared to last year. And those store closures contributed to a 26.7% drop in net sales, which is weird, right? You'd think if you close 10% of your stores, you would lose 10% of your net sales.
Well, the key word is contributed, because the sales were already going down like this. Yeah. What's scarier is that they've lost 16.7% of their sales year on year.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah. Right. If you adjust for the store closures.
If you adjust for the store closures.
Because everybody knows, by the way, in retail, there's a magic metric that defines the success of a retail store, and it's not sales, or it's same store sales. That's it. And you can just see right in the numbers here, the same store sales are going down. And as soon as same store sales start going down, that is like the kiss of death for retailers,
GameStop said that 40% of closed store sales were recaptured through online sales and nearby physical stores, which in turn led to improved cash flow. So, 40% was recaptured, but that still means 60% was lost.
But they're still down 27%. So I'm like trying
Correct.
to, and also 40% would be, that's basically saying if you do the math on that, that's like our online sales were up 4%.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like that's a good story to tell. like I'm just, you know what I mean? Like if you do the math, 40% sounds like a big number. You do the math, they're basically saying, yeah, we closed a whole bunch of stores and our same store sales were down, but online sales were up 4%. Great.
I mean, is there anything left to do with GameStop at this point, William?
No, they could. There's so many ways GameStop could turn around as a business. There's so many ways. I mean, we mentioned it before. They could turn into Nintendo stores. Like, I still think that's a smart strategy.
But are they hanging on here, hoping this console generation reinvigorates the business? Is this the bet at this point?
Maybe, but probably not, because I think with all the cheapest consoles having no physical copies anymore, I think it's a very short-term victory. Even if they can move a bunch of consoles through the GameStop, they're going to cut their pipeline. Yeah, the other very real possibility, and somebody pointed out this to me from BCG actually, who I was talking to about this, which I thought was very smart, is they said, like, and it's really true. They said there is no shame in managing a business to reap. Right? In other words, sometimes the correct way to manage a business to return value to shareholders is just say, the model isn't going to work. It's too difficult to pivot, or when it's not worth the risk. But between now and zero, we can return a whole bunch of profit to you. And that's the best, right? And it's true. There's we have this myth that businesses need to be, going concerns and last for forever. There's no shame in, if you're returning value to the shareholders and it's good value, there's no shame in reaping a business. And it's very possible GameStop is on that model as well, right? That they're going to manage closures, get profitability up, and walk to the finish line with grace and big bonuses for everyone.
Yeah, but that's not clear, right? And I'm looking at the numbers again and I'm going, they only closed 10% of their stores. When I think the math we had done previously basically said literally half their stores are not profitable.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, we did do some math. Yeah.
Why take such cautious measures when the business is in such dire straits? Why not close 50% of your stores? You cut the leg off and you like you said, you manage sort of that slow, steady death. It's weird to me that only, I'm surprised. And in the midst of a pandemic, again, where year over year their sales are still down, online hasn't made up for it, why they haven't been closing more aggressively.
I don't know, Paul. We don't know the economics, but I suspect the fact that they are closing, they're probably pretty smart about it. I don't get the sense that GameStop is badly managed from a P&L structure. I wish they had a different strategy, but I bet they're optimizing closing stores very well because they have a lot of management staff who can do that. So who are smart people. So I would trust that their closure path is sensible. But
am I missing something here? The 10% of stores they closed, right,
Yep.
contributed to a 26.7% drop in net sales, which means those were probably good stores.
No, it doesn't. It means that as a whole, every store's sales was down 16 point something percent, plus 10% of stores just vanished. So they lose 10% of sales off the top. That's how I read that number.
Yeah, I see how you're interpreting that.
Yeah. Because I hope that's not what it is, that we closed
we closed the 10% that are doing a third of our revenue, right?
The way we picked these stores, I'm gonna be honest with you, we got a map. We kind of
you could read it that way, correct?
You could, yeah, you could. But I guarantee you that's not what they're doing. They're not doing that. That would be hilarious, though. We managed our store closures on Twitch. We let the fans vote. Albuquerque, anyone like Albuquerque? There's going to be 22 gone. No, but we also shouldn't joke because it's a lot of people's jobs. And actually, it's a lot of gamers' jobs. And in today's world, it's tough. It's really tough. It's tough.
It's true.
And so, like as much as it is to kind of poke fun of it, like also I have great childhood memories. I still remember seeing the Vagrant story trailer in a GameStop and being floored. I'll remember that till the day I die, you know. I have great memories in it. It's a great brand. It's sad. It's sad, you know.
Gabe says, I've been saying GameStop is on its dying breath for the last 5 years. PC gaming is up. People with consoles are starting to go for digital copies. And let's be honest, customer service is the best at GS. Yeah, it's not what they're known for.
No.
Cam says, how critical are console sales to GameStop? Very.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. It's like the whole game.
I think used games is probably their biggest line item still, right, William?
I think so, yeah. I haven't seen it recently, but it has to be.
It has to be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sammer sent this link, which I assume is around wrapping your Tesla, which I will have to check out after.
All Paul's going to do now.
Cam says, how's that Home Depot guy doing with them? Well, Cam, this is the Home Depot guy, right? So this is his handiwork so far. Again, given the pandemic, where just about all gaming is surging from a sales perspective, the fact that they're still down year over year says he's not managing it that great, if you ask me.
I don't think so.
I think they're just not cutting aggressively enough. This is maybe where William and I disagree. I would have liked to have seen 25 or 30% of the stores closed when we know 50% of them are unprofitable.
I trust that they're managing the closures well. I really do.
Trent says they were putting effort into a LAN effort too. You know, we called this one so right, Trent, which was it's all lip service. Like, I think at least this was my view. Maybe I won't speak for William here, but this whole esports thing that they were doing, and they're really going to get into esports. I knew A, they didn't have the cash to back up any initiative in any meaningful way. And B, they had like when your house is on fire, the last thing you're worried about is the color of the paint in the kitchen. Right. And this is kind of like they gave some lip service to esports because it got them some good PR, you know, maybe got their stock price, you know, up a little bit for that day or two. But the reality is I don't think there was ever any serious thought behind it. What happens to the GameStop Performance Center at Complexity?
What does happen?
I mean, I'm sure they just like those naming rights for buildings. It's probably already been paid for. A, B, it's probably like a license for 10 years. So I would say in 10, like however long it's been up, in 10 years, if they don't renew it, the GameStop name will come down and it'll be the Cash App Performance Center, or it'll be the
good call.
Whatever.
I've been seeing Cash App a lot of places lately. Yeah.
I don't know, William, you have any other thoughts?
No, actually, there's a good comment from Martin in the chat. I see them. Actually, we should get that up.
Martin says, I worked at the Australian version of GameStop, EB Games.
It was also US, by the way, before it got bought.
And Canadian electronics boutique. It was here as well.
Electronique boutique. How do you?
Do you remember? Was it called Cabbage? I think, William.
There was Cabbages. There was Consumer Electronics Exchange. Sex. There was that. There were a bunch.
I worked at the Australian version of GameStop, EB Games, for 5 years as a teenager. They seem to be trying to pivot into pop culture merch, etc., as physical game sales are going down.
That's true.
I don't know what that, like, Martin, what do you mean by pop culture merch? Because this to me is such a bad trend. If it is what I think it is, like I put something out on Twitter this week. Babbages. That's it. Yeah. Babbages. Christopher knows. We all have just a little bit of white hair in the beard, just enough to remember these things.
If I could grow a beard, I would have white hair, but I can't. So. Babbages.
That was the best part of going to the mall for me, was to be able to get to Babbage's.
Dude, I remember driving. I mean, let's not go into our stories, but I loved it. It's like, think about the great memories you had there. Like, are kids going to have the same memory downloading it on PlayStation Plus? You know what? Yes, they will. Like, I'm just going to call
they won't have to waste 3 hours.
Yeah, like,
after they've like had to convince their parents for an entire week, take me to the mall so I can get this freaking
sell out.
game.
It's gonna sell out, and then you get there and it's a day late, and your reserved copy was given away, and you're like, well, I mean, like, I kid because like we have nostalgia for it and there's value, but it is a better experience. Let's be honest. Like,
it's not meaning digital is a better experience.
Yeah, digital is a better experience. Yeah.
Cam says Funko Pops and such. I think Martin is saying they have entire walls dedicated to them. T-shirts, figurines, Funko Pops. Yeah, and that stuff sells. There's a market for it. I was going to say, I put a comment out on Twitter, and I'm curious, William, A, what you think of this, and B, what our audience thinks of this. And it was related to Venn. And for anyone who's been watching Venn, the comment I put out was that Venn is like this perfect example of gamer lifestyle taken like 8 levels too far, where the content's no good, the hosts are no good, there's no entertainment value, none of this seems to have been planned out. There's a fancy set and lots of gamer lifestyle fluff, RGB and the headphones with the cat ears and there's like a lot of gamer lifestyle fluff, but no substance behind it.
Yeah, I just
and I think it's a little bit of a trend where we're seeing gamer lifestyle pushed to such an extreme that it's no longer authentic in any way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you seeing a similar trend or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I tend to be less cynical. I think just some people execute better than others. And I think a lot of what we see is the less good content is just less well executed content. But yeah, in general, like there are a lot of people doing esports content that are less endemic to esports now. So they get the look, but they
that in and of itself is okay, right? I have no issues with non-endemic making content. It's why is the gamer lifestyle has gone so far. It's almost forgotten what being a gamer actually is.
Yeah, I think
being a gamer is not as cool as Watch Venn would have you believe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Let me tell you, you know what, Paul? We should make like a real gamer culture, which is like legit accurate to gaming life, and it looks like this: like wake up on Saturday morning, check your guild server for the raid time, realize you can squeeze in a quick run of MC with some buddies who are online in your pajamas. You haven't even showered yet. The coffee is cold. You spill it all over your keyboard because you're panicking and then you go upstairs, you get yourself like I would love to do
Venn has taken it to a point where it's where the industry is a caricature of itself almost. Right, that's the problem that I have, where it can't just be about the lifestyle. I get lifestyle sells shares
specific content network, but I think in general, I don't know, just what
gamer lifestyle raises money from investors. That's why they're pushing it. That's it.
Raises
you say we're lifestyle, people think, oh my god, 20,000 sources of revenue. If you say we're just doing gamer hoodies, people go, oh no, but we're gamer lifestyle now.
This is why though, Paul, we have to have our own apparel line, because I'm telling you, it's gonna be great.
Martin says, I don't think it's a good idea just what they're doing. Yeah, I think they have shelf space and they got to fill it with something, right?
Hear me out. Brooks Brothers partnership, Egyptian cotton collared shirts, BOE branded.
If you can't get Jean-Pierre, I'm not doing a hoodie.
Okay, but
get me a Jean-Pierre hoodie. Yes.
I am this close to emailing the Jean-Pierre developer and say, I have a deal for you, Jean-Pierre. The only way it would be
Jean-Pierre
better
touches the skin, okay?
The only way it would be better is if Jean-Pierre had an even more elaborate French last name, like Jean-Pierre, Yves Leron or something. That would be so. All right, it's not fun. It's not funny to make it silly.
Trent says content is king. I agree. They're lacking content. There's a lot of fluff, but no content. Even the term gamer makes me shudder. I kind of agree, Martin, and I'm coming around to this a little more.
No.
Up until I started working in the industry, William, I never openly called myself a gamer.
I know, and now you sort of are forced to affiliate with it. You're sort of like people, nobody says, are you a movie watcher or are you a book reader? You know what I mean? But like all of a sudden, like you're a gamer, like as if it's a thing, and you're like, and you sort of have to like declare it, like in industry meetings, in industries, a lot of times you're meeting new people, and you sort of have to declare like, oh well, I'm a gamer, and then you have to say something that like proves your credibility. Like my thing is like gold card for Zelda. I played gold card. You know what I mean? And like I mean it, I did, and I loved it. But like it is a little bit of like a forced affinity thing now. You know?
Yeah, and the gamer snob in me,
Mm-hmm.
like I like what qualifies as gamer now to me is it's a little too loose. But anyways,
Ooh, Samir has a great suggestion. Esportster. That's
Cam
good.
says
Like
PC gamer lifestyle can get pretty exotic if you're wearing Jean Pierre.
Jean-Pierre Le Yveron.
Sammer says this point reminds me of skater culture from like where there was like where it was taken so far, people forgot it was about skating, and it was more just the lifestyle kind of fluff.
But it made it accessible,
like baggy clothing and like
it made it accessible to me, Sammer. Frosted tips,
oh,
Avril
no.
Lavigne.
Please,
THPS.
Did you seriously have frosted tips, William?
No, of course I did.
Oh, okay.
But I want to. I still want to, Paul. Maybe for our 100th episode, I'm going to frost my tips because I really want to do it. Like, I really want to frost them. So,
Cam says, am I still in charge of merch? Still waiting on LV. Yes, Cam. We put you in charge. You're still in charge.
They looked cool.
Esportster. No, that's worse. It sounds like a car.
Esporter.
Ninja to Twitch is great. Where else? Trovo. Trent, we talked about Ninja to Twitch on the podcast, which drops tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which we went into. We have a good conspiracy theory there. So would love for you to listen to that and let me know what you think. And we said we would do a second live stream. If people listen to the podcast tomorrow, love the Ninja conversation and want more of it,
yeah,
we will do a second live stream.
We need to set a goal, 100 retweets or something riasonable, because I want to do a second podcast.
It's flexible.
Yeah, whatever.
As long as there's enough interest.
Yeah, just do it so we do it, because I'll be the one who Paul has to drag out. I'll be like, I'm busy, Paul. I'll be like, don't be lame. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Anything you guys want to talk about before we wrap up here? Anything that we missed, maybe? Anything we went too fast, glossed over? As always, we like this to be, yes, Martin, I play video games is enough. I agree. I play computer games is what I would used to tell people. Because video games could be console.
You're elitist.
I am. It's okay. I admit it.
Ghost of Tsushima on a console. That didn't make it any less good.
Single player game on a console. This is.
That's what my wife said. She was like, "You used to be attractive before you started single player console games." Like...
So maybe you should start listening.
She was like, "This is the definition of a loveless marriage: single player console games. I have no respect for you anymore." Like, she
takes the PC and leaves.
Yeah, she just takes the PC and leaves. She's like, I see this is the only possession of value in the house. She's like, at least I could respect Untitled Goose Game. At least that was a choice.
Should we talk about what we played this week, William?
Yeah,
let's. This is going to be very sad because you and I both know the kind of week we both had.
No, I played a lot. Actually.
Really?
A lot, yeah.
Why am I working so much and you're playing so much?
A lot, well, because when I get really, really busy at work, I can't sleep because I get so amped up and I think about everything. And actually, playing when I'm busiest, even though I have less time, playing a game for an hour to wind down at night actually nets me more sleep. Because even if I'm like going to get 5 hours, if I just go to bed after working, I will like toss and turn and I won't. Whereas if I play a game and I'm thinking about the game, I will get 4 straight hours. And that to me is worth it. So my wife doesn't understand.
I would normally agree with you, William.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like at the levels of busy, at least I know I've been at, and you too, I stress thinking that I could have used that hour to do something else. It ends up stressing me out after the fact. You know what I mean?
I just have to sleep. And it really does like, I mean, I'm not playing I drop out of the competitive games and I play much more casual games to wind down. But like, it really does help me. Like I'm convinced there's a whole new category of game which is going to be sleep aid, like gaming before sleep. Like this
Interesting.
notion that gaming wires you up, I don't think is true. Like for me, it really does relax me. It's like part of a bedtime ritual. So, but
Hold
yeah,
on, let
anyway.
me address this first. Cam says, "What did you think of last weekend's F1 race?" Uh, incredibly entertaining. 2 red flags in a single race is, it hasn't happened in a long time, especially after like last week. So the week before this last weekend, there was another red flag in that race. So 3 red flags in 2 races in a row. Crazy entertaining. Just like from a fan's perspective, about as entertaining as F1 can get. I really enjoyed it because it's weird to see these drivers in the middle of a race, get out of their car. They're drenched. They're like physically exhausted. They're mentally exhausted, and have to sort of get back in the zone and drive a car at 300 miles an hour. Shows you just the kind of athletes physically and mentally that they are. And I really don't think it's rivaled in any other sport, like literally none, in terms of the quality of athlete. William, I don't know who you were talking to, but not to me, I assume.
No, I was making fun of you.
Oh, okay.
I was doing your whole like car thing. Like, yeah. What was it? You're like,
Can
you
we
go
talk
on about cars? You're going, yeah.
Kev asked me. I'm going to answer him.
Yeah. Okay.
Martin says more ranked Age of Empires 2 with the boys. Wish it had the watchability to be a successful esport. Red Bull's championship is a good start. William, why don't we see Age of Empires? Why did it never catch on as an esport the same way StarCraft did, for example? Why don't we see more RTS esports? Why is that whole genre dead?
Because there's a lack of investment in supporting the scene. But I think StarCraft, look at the viewership on YouTube and the tournaments, it does extraordinarily well. And actually, even the Age of Empires 2 classic tournaments, I have a buddy who's really into it, are incredibly highly watched. And I find extremely enjoyable. Like, I actually watch Age of Empires 2 esports from time to time. I really like it. I'm calling it right now. History has accidents on a short-term scale. RTSs are not done. They're too good of a genre. They're too high skill ceiling. I know the issue with them is they're inaccessible because they're so difficult to play, and MOBAs kind of solved the RTS issue, right? By basically focusing on the single unit, Book of Esports, bam. But I don't know. I got to level with you. Like I don't think we're done with RTSs, and I think there is a next great RTS out there, and it will be in the pantheon of tier 1 esports. And I would like to say it's going to be StarCraft 3 or Warcraft 4. I don't know, but someone's going to get it right because it's too good of a genre and it's too fun to watch
and fun to play.
Very, yeah. Well, also like the whole thing is very gettable. Like it has this get it because you see like what's going on. It's 2 armies fighting. Like that is so understandable, right? What are they doing? Oh, they have to harvest resources and protect their base. And Age of Empires was instantly gettable because you can even describe it simpler. It's medieval warfare. Like, I did it for you, So, yeah, RTSs are not done. And I don't know who's going to crack the puzzle. I don't know when it's going to be cracked. It might even be StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2 is very popular right now in some regions and things, but we're not done with it.
Cam says, completely lost this week. I want to play. Been learning League to try something new. I have a kind of a theory. And William, you tell me if you agree.
Yeah.
It's too late to be starting to learn League. It's too late.
Yep. Too late.
Am I right?
Seriously, it is. It's too late. Yeah,
There's too much depth in the game and the character pool. And like Dota and League, to me, if you haven't been playing it the last 5-10 years, like it's too late.
Well, that's actually not quite true. I think
unless you're willing to invest massive amounts of hours.
I think you can learn League today, but it's going to be very unsatisfying because you're going to play for 3 years and be Silver 2, right? Like me in Heroes of the Storm. I also think like the only way I would really like, and I'm not saying this to knock Riot, they have a great business model, I love it. I think the only really way you get into League today is you have a friend who's super into League, and it's the social relationship that carries you across the big hump. You know what I mean? The first time, because it's just there. It's like the game is built for its heavy users. It's so deep. There's so many matchups. Even the core mechanic of last hitting in lane is so punishing. And what's worse is when you're bad at it, you don't just lose, your whole team loses because you feed. Do you know what I mean? Like it's hard.
painful.
It's painful. It's painful. And I get it. And some people like that and are willing to go on that treadmill. But I do think it's the same way that like it's tough to get into console controllers today if you've never played a console before. Like I'm not saying you can't do it and there's not a great reward there at the end, but I don't know. I think it's the adoption curve is hard for League. It's hard. And I've tried to get into League. I like League. I'm not a League hater. I love it. I think it's a brilliant game, super well managed. It's just hard. I lose all the time.
Martin says, thank you, William. RTS will survive. Maybe Age of Empires 4. Maybe. Trent says, do you see bundles for the holiday? Trent, I assume you're asking for the consoles, and I think almost zero chance. Like, is they're going to be so new, so hard to get, sold out everywhere. The reality is, I don't think they will need to do any bundles to sell through in this first holiday season.
There might be some retailer-driven bundles, but it's not going to be, the subsidy isn't going to come from the game publishers.
Yeah, and I think they may be in, wow, Mike, what is going on?
What am I, such a pithy but smart point. It's like I worked with retail distributors for 5 years.
He's dropping the Hasbro bombs.
That's how it operates. The BOGO is not subsidized by the OEM.
Okay. You may want to explain that one.
Original equipment manufacturer.
Cam says, have some friends doing their best to teach me it wasn't your fault that we lost. Yeah. Just be careful how long they stay your friends if you keep losing.
Yep.
So what were you playing this week, William?
So I did beat Ghost of Tsushima, finally.
Okay.
I'm still doing some post-game stuff, but I liked it a lot. And that A16Z article had a huge influence on me because I literally was like, I need to make sure I know everything in the A16Z article. So I have been playing through and I've been doing exploration more about, so I've been doing a lot of actually Gloomhaven. I've been doing a lot of
Gloomhaven. Are you doing tabletop games?
Tabletop simulation games on PC, yeah, with some buddies of mine. And I am doing it because this is a huge compliment to A16Z. I take them so seriously. To see them taking a space I love seriously, and for me not to have a very strong opinion on it, like I'm not going to miss it. So I'm going to look at it in detail, and it's a space I love. So it's easy. So I've been going through and trying to look at all the different ways tabletop games are simulated on PC, and I've been playing them through. And the Gloomhaven one it's a beta. It's clunky, but I've liked that a lot the most, I'm keenly aware of the fact that there is a flaw in the A16Z. If that is their thesis, and I don't know that you can port board to, digitally, there's a clear flaw, which is just game design for human interaction is so different when a machine automates it. There's just so many things that are effortless to do in human, like interrupt people, that is almost impossible to do in a sequenced game, right? Yep. So there's definitely some, I thought that might be the hypothesis behind the article, that there was going to be a big trend of digitizing board games. I'm not so sure that's what it is right now, or if it is, I think that's wrong, although there is potential for the right games. But I did everything. I told you guys I did Zombies Run. I've been running to Zombies Run to try to figure that one out, and I'm willing to call it no. not there, but yeah.
Trent says, what's the window for resale? What's the flip price? Again, I assume, Trent, you're referring to the console generation stuff. Thoughts, William? You're the retail guy.
I wouldn't be trying to flip consoles anymore.
Yeah, like I don't think you're going to make money flipping consoles because they're going to manufacture millions and millions of these, right? Like this, there may be brief moments of scarcity, but highly doubt that
the days of shortages at launch there will be some because they want the news articles, but they're very artificial right now. And I wouldn't want to be the one holding a unit and having to retail, because even if you get like a $50 or $100 profit, right, which is a pretty big margin, like a 20% margin on the thing, like you're taking a big risk, plus you have to deal with platform sales, returns, like I think you can't. I mean, not that I would recommend it as a model anyway, because I think it's against like I don't think it's great to do. Like,
no,
but
you
also,
can say it,
yeah.
William. Like I just don't. I don't like, people who buy up products that to create like artificial demand and try and like raise the price.
And I know that it's economics 101 and there's a market behavior to do it, but I still don't like it as a behavior. Sorry, Trent, I'm not trying to criticize. I don't like it. But I think also just independent of that, like the days when that could work, when there really truly was hardware scarcity at launch because they couldn't manufacture them and ship them fast enough, that's over. That's over.
And you'll see like limits put on, right? Like they'll only let people buy 2 or whatever. Like it's hard to do it at any kind of scale where you can make money.
You can't.
In any significant way. I just don't think you can. Trevor says, what do you guys think about blockchain and gaming? That's Trevor. That's literally, and I apologize to do this unless William really wants to dig in. We could probably spend like a whole live stream just on this.
We should do that. That's a whole topic. We should just do because it's like, and a lot of it, I'm going to tell you, Trevor, is I don't know. Like, I don't understand blockchain. I really don't. Like I don't get it.
It's one of those things where there's clear potential in certain applications, but there's so much that has to happen for those applications to have real value today that like it's not a space I would be betting on today unless again it was a very specific application that intersects these two. And it's there for a reason, and it's not just because people wanted to throw buzzwords into a pitch deck, which a lot of the stuff I've seen is like that, right? Where it's like you could do this without blockchain, so you're just throwing it in there because it sounds good, but you know what I mean. If there's very specific reasons why it's there, then I'm. Anyways, we could probably spend so much time on it.
The other thing is like it's like microtransaction. Like it's like asking what do you think of microtransactions in games, like. Great. But if I told you, like, imagine I was going to make a new game and I'm saying, like, why does a consumer want to buy this game? Because it has microtransactions in it. You'd be like, tell me about the game. I think a lot of the blockchain gaming stuff is like, there's no game, so it's not going to work, and that also makes it very hard to separate the innovation in blockchain from like everything else because fundamental good blockchain innovations in gaming fail because they're paired with bad games and you're just not sure like which was which. So this is we can have a whole long conversation like 10
we should
hours. Like
I think we can promise people, William, that maybe we will do a blockchain in gaming.
I know a bunch of blockchain guys. Actually, I've been talking to a couple people to try to understand
it.
I can ask one.
I have one too. I think
sorry. I'm ashamed. You have a better
who's in the room, I think, right now. Yeah,
but that's true, actually. Yeah.
So
we should get that person.
Trevor, I will commit to you that we will do this and answer this question properly because it's not like a 1-minute answer, unfortunately. It's something we would have to dig in and have a longer conversation around. And if enough people want it and Cam says he'd be interested in learning more about it, then I definitely think we can discuss it. So we can do a whole other stream or a podcast maybe around that. Trent says you buy console for lifestyle. Agreed. Martin says it's just scalping, plain and simple. Yeah, that's the problem. And some people have ethical issues with that. What am I playing this week, William? That's all that's left to answer here, right?
You're playing Call of Duty.
No, Warzone sucks. I've come to that conclusion. Warzone is just terrible.
You're so fast to judge.
Warzone is a terrible BR.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not fast to judge. I have
I know
like a good number of hours in every Call of Duty ever. So I know Call of Duty, but I think as a BR, there's just something off with it. There's something wrong, and it's hard to explain. I can explain it in gamer terms. I can't explain it in like good business terms. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't.
So the guys I play with though, and I love them all to death. So I say this out of love. They're mostly all degenerates, right? They play games all day long, like all day long, 12 hours a day, 18 hours a day, right? And I love them for it. Good for them that they can do this, right? I don't have that luxury. But the problem is like when I want to play Apex, for example, and I have half an hour and they've played it for 3 days straight for like 18 hours a day, they don't want to play it anymore.
I know.
Right? So the problem is they're now like tired of all the games that I like, but I finally got everyone to play just a few hours with me last week of Battlefield 5, a game I love, which got the short end of the stick because of really bad marketing. But it's fundamentally a great game and a lot of fun with friends. Trevor says, this is for you, William. I know you're a fan of Japanese culture, so I would be curious if you watch anime, specifically Sword Art Online, a show based on futuristic VR and competitive games. If so, how far do you think we are from that? Also, Trevor, you're like asking questions that we could do entire live streams on.
My whole thing on anime taste is like, I don't know, that we have to just do.
You should have a good answer here, William. Isn't your wife Japanese?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, and I speak reasonable
and you
Japanese.
Speak Japanese, right?
Yeah. But I pretty far away from Sword Art Online. Actually prefer different. Like I think the more interesting thing that's happening in anime today. And I don't watch a lot of anime, like not like I used to. I used to watch a lot in high school. I was like, but not anymore. I feel like I kind of feel like
you were a weeb.
Yeah, I liked it. But also, it was so good. Like Ghost in the Shell is brilliant. Like I could do a film. Like I had that taught to me in a film course, and I'm just like speechless at how it deconstructs consumer identity, and like I don't know, it's really beautiful. Like, and like there's a reason the Matrix copied it. It's great, but I think what I have seen today is what's more interesting to me is the way in anime today, gaming is being adopted as part of a natural lifestyle. So like a good example is there's an anime Japan Sinks, which is based off a manga. And like one of the characters' professions in Japan Sinks is he's a pro gamer who gets to literally Japan Sinks. Sorry to spoil it for you. And they're like, the Japanese people become refugees floating on the ocean, and one of the characters is a pro gamer, and it's just much more interesting to see like it presented as a regular profession. Like it's not a big deal. Like someone's a firefighter, someone's a pro. It's like interesting to me. What's more interesting is the normalization of gaming culture and medium like that, particularly anime. Like it's just treated as so matter of the fact that it's like not even a point of discussion. It's not even a plot point. It's just like a thing that this was who the person was. So I don't know, that to me is more interesting. But
I haven't seen Sword Art Online. I'm not an anime fan. I don't watch any. Sorry, William.
You missed out on Cowboy Bebop.
I will answer the question regardless.
Yeah.
And if it's similar to a Ready Player One kind of future, I will say we're 20 to 30 years away from that. So I don't know
just in time for Paul and I to get in.
That's it. 20 to 30 years, Trevor. And we can do a deep dive on VR too. Yeah. Like that's a whole other, you're right. These are, he says, I'm dropping show content ideas for, we can do a blockchain gaming one. We can do a VR one, VR, AR, and look into the business side there. What's working, what's not. Cam says, agree, Paul can't take it seriously as a VR. Yes. Telling you, COD VR doesn't work. I miss Battlefield 3 so much. Battlefield 5 is good. You don't need to be nostalgic. It's a great game. On that note, guys, anything else before we sign off here? We've had some good questions here at the end. Really good. Like I said, just want to wrap up here. Teasing tomorrow. Great episode of the podcast will drop tomorrow. Talking a lot about health and wellness and gaming. We had Gamer Doc on the show. And she had really interesting insight into that entire intersection of medicine and gaming. Obviously, guys, we continue to do these live streams every single week, Wednesday evening. We really would like to do a second live stream every week. If you guys have thoughts in terms of the best time, day, where we think there might be opportunity, William and I were thinking maybe something a bit earlier, like on a Friday, but would love your thoughts there. As always, if you listen to the podcast, tell other people about it. Tell people about the live stream. Give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to the podcast. We really appreciate it. Actually, we should be listed soon on Amazon Music. I just submitted us. Amazon Music is now doing podcasts, so we should be one of the first podcasts listed there. Sammer says, I love the show. Sammer, I love you. I really miss you. And Trevor says, I saw your Twitter post, Paul. Don't get on gardeners. I grow my own food. Trevor's referring to a Twitter post that I put up saying, if you're too scared to go toe-to-toe with me on the podcast, then you shouldn't be in business. You should be a gardener. And maybe that's unfair to gardeners. And Trevor, I'm sorry. Maybe you grow your own food, but I had to pick something. Martin says, please do more live streams, the better. I learned so much. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, all you guys, for being here every single week, for being fans of the live stream and the podcast. We really appreciate it. It's why we love doing it. Buy William's book, guys, so I can.
Yeah,
so, like we can. Is it sold out yet again, William? Are we done now?
I don't know.
Can I stop?
I checked; it was almost sold out in Canada the other day because, like, our buddy Neil was trying to buy books for his college class and couldn't get them. So, I don't know. It needs it's doing well. It still has more copies. You should buy more because it's like I was disappointed to see Rage beat me in the sales this week.
Rage beat you in the sales?
Rage, like by Bob Woodward or whatever, the number one bestseller in America. It was a joke.
I thought people would be buying Dune, right? With the new movie coming out. Everyone's rereading Dune now.
I wish. It's so good. It's so good.
I don't think they need to remake the movie. The book was just fine. I don't even think they needed to make.
I don't think they need to remake the first movie. I think it was perfect.
It had Captain Picard. Why do you need to remake that?
I know. Literally, you peaked. Like the only way, like. The only way I would have been interested in this remake is if they had been like also Captain Picard. Like,
yeah, bring him back. Otherwise, I'm not going to see this movie.
Whole marketing should have just been and Captain Picard. Like that should be like literally they should have changed the title Dune ... and Captain Picard. No, the only way I'd be more interested in that if it was Dune ... and Loquacious. Is that right? Is that his Borg name? Captain Picard when he turns
Locutus.
Locutus, that's so dumb.
It's okay.
I know
you're more of the Star Wars guy. I'm more of the Star Trek guy.
I should know Star Trek pretty well. Locutus. Sorry, it's been a while, but I was close. So
Trevor says I'm creating courses on esports and game development, and I'm using William's book as a major reference. Great stuff. That's awesome, Trevor. Both William and I are using William's book as reference for our classes as well. So it works out that way. So, anyways. That wraps up this week's live stream, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you so much.
Again, every single week, Wednesday evening, 8:30, same time. The podcast drops tomorrow. Check it out. We love you all for showing up. Tell your friends about it. And we will see you guys next week.